All right, hello and welcome to League of Vloggers. This is episode 14 of season 4. Tonight, our hosts are we've got Curtis James that way,
Hey.
and if you look below, there's nobody today. Unfortunately, Jeff had some things come up that he couldn't hang out with us, and myself, I'm Viking Redbeard, aka Chase.
Indeed.
So we have the semifinals and the finals match this past weekend to discuss.
Yeah.
We saw Evil Geniuses face off against FlyQuest, and then the winner of that, which was surprisingly FlyQuest, go off against Cloud9. And yeah, we got not quite as many matches as I was hoping, but
Yeah.
we still got a good series for the EG FlyQuest, and then Cloud9 kind of ended exactly how we thought it would.
Yeah. So it's funny because, you said surprisingly like FlyQuest made it. And at the end of last week's episode, I was going over. I'm like, I think FlyQuest is going to win. And I started giving some reasons. And I'm like, and I've talked myself out of it. EG 3-1. Damn it. I was this close to being right.
I mean, honestly, that's where I was at too. Like, I thought EG had it. I think that they were playing so well, and that as a team, they were just jiving in just the right way. And FlyQuest kind of like Cinderella storied that for me. Like they came back and they won it. They won it pretty convincingly. I don't have any qualms with how that went. I think that FlyQuest fully deserved beating EG there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was... I don't know if it's a blessing in disguise or not that the management couldn't make their mind up on Solo during the regular split. Because, I mean, I know I commented, I was like, he won you, 2 out of 3 games or whatever, and then you, bench him to bring back in Viper right at the end of the split, and because of that, you don't get the second seed to start with, and so you end up in the tiebreaker, and then you get 4th out of that, because you also played Viper in one of those. They did all this mess to not end up in the spot where EG would have, in which case, I think they... I don't know who TSM would have... Or TSM. I don't know who Cloud9 would have picked. I think they still would have picked 100 Thieves, so, they still end up playing the same match, and it doesn't matter, I guess. But then they're probably also starting Viper, so maybe they beat EG the first time around and they get to face Cloud9 once before the final, and I don't know if that would hurt or help them, because there's a lot to be speculated about, whether coming in off of getting dumpstered by Cloud9 hurt EG in that matchup, whereas FlyQuest was coming in from, beating TSM in a best of 5, and looking good at it. It took them all 5 games, but they looked good. So, there could be an argument for momentum and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the playoffs, it's just very obvious that Solo is the correct choice for that team. Because they looked so much better when he was in. They felt like they could do something in all their lanes. And the team was already playing pretty cohesively. So all they needed was to not have a massive weak point. Which is what, unfortunately, Viper became by the end of the split.
Yeah, I feel bad for Viper, kind of like how things have shaken
out. Shook out?
Yeah, see?
Shakira.
I'm not as retarded as
Shakira'd out. How they Shakira'd out.
Yep. Yeah, it's really unfortunate with how things ended up for him. But you are totally correct. Solo is what made that team actually play better, because he came in as he came in to help coach, right? Isn't that why
he was not on a roster at the beginning of the season. A few weeks before they played him, they had hired him as a positional coach. So basically, he was hired to help Viper become better, and then he just went up to get his spot.
Yeah, this is one of the few occurrences where the student did not become the master. The master was already there, and fucking Viper just couldn't do shit with it, unfortunately.
He's like, grab the fly from my hand, and they just slapped him in the face and said, no! He will never!
That's not how the Riven plays.
Turns out when Riven's banned.
Yeah, and so, yeah, Solo came in a coaching capacity, and then eventually was backup, and then now starter. It's just kind of really funny how that all happened. FlyQuest kind of made the run that I didn't expect them to, considering they both looked good and like garbage at various points this split. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty proud of not proud. I'm pretty excited for how things have ended for them. And hopefully they can continue to take this and push it forward next split.
Yeah, I think both of these teams, both EG and FlyQuest, should be happy with how the split turned out overall. I mean, neither of them were projected to be top three. In fact, FlyQuest by a lot of people was projected to be ninth. EG was predicted to be like bottom half, maybe a playoff team kind of thing. They ended the split at 2, they ended playoffs at 3, and then FlyQuest ended split at 4, playoffs at 2. Like, that's a good split. Now, granted, we saw TL just, be a dumpster fire, and so you can maybe take that into account, but they still, like, just straight up bettered TSM. They straight up bettered. I mean, CLG was a dumpster fire too, I guess. But like the teams people expected to be in front of them, TL, TSM, Cloud9 for sure. The one who actually did make a decent showing, they just played better than them. They were more cohesive. They were more consistent, at least at the end of the season when it mattered. And honestly, I think both of these teams are currently just playing better than TSM. It's just, you're not going to meet Cloud9 right now. So I hope they both head into this mid-season break with a drive to hold those spots. Because teams like TL and TSM are going to try and make adjustments and get there. And actually, we'll be talking about that some after we get done with matches here. But, you've already shown, like, oh, you can play with the big boys. Do it again. If either of these teams can make top 4 again next split, then they are a serious team who have picked up, I think they both already picked up quite a few fans already in this split. And I think if they do it again next split, at that point it's like, all right, you might be one of the big boys now. Like, we actually give a shit about you as a organization because you've shown up twice in a row. And FlyQuest has, shown up before and they failed to do it consistently. If they can do it now, that's a big deal, especially because they just made it to the finals for the first time. And that's huge. That's huge for an organization to finally make it to finals with a team that it looks like you can hold on to all those players without issue and build onto it. I think Ignar's really good. I think Wild Turtle's still fine. I know there's better AD carries in the region, but he's not even just serviceable. He's better than that. Obviously, Power of Evil had a great split, and you keep with that going forward. Santorin's still looking really good, and you just plugged in Solo. I think if the chemistry in that team works really well with Solo, which we don't know that because it hasn't been an extended time, but if the team chemistry is good with him, they're going to be just even a little bit better next split, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, they had a little bit of a roller coaster this split. And when they were up, they looked really good, and when they were down, they looked really bad. So the fact that they were able to kind of dethrone everyone else along the way of that roller coaster of a ride is just very interesting. Yeah, I think, I mean, Turtle looked a little washed up through parts of this split. Like I was like, how much longer do you have? And then he kind of like came and popped off, and he kind of showed up when it really mattered.
All of a sudden in the playoffs, we saw him like flashing forward to get kills, and it was like, oh shit, I haven't seen that in a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, Turtle definitely seems like he wants it. Like he's not playing perfect every single game, but he's playing well enough in the games that matter, and that's, I mean, it got him to second place. Yeah, I mean, kudos to them. I'm digging it.
Yeah, and I guess for EG, since I didn't say much about them, and obviously everyone split over, but their split ended just a hair earlier than they would have liked. I think for a brand new organization, I mean, the only team that did better in NA, coming as a brand new org in the franchise, time. So this season, last season, the season before that, all right? No, just last season. Yeah, two seasons ago. Because the first split of franchising, is what I'm referring to, and it's when 100 Thieves made it to the finals. Now, granted, they had a lot of oopsies between, hey, we were second, and everything they did after that, but they're recovering now. But EG, because of the way that organization is built, that it's a really old esports organization, that it used to be player owned, and then it was, I think Twitch owned part of it actually, and there was all sorts of stuff, and basically it became an independent org again recently. And they restructured, and you have, what was it, Nicole LaPointe Jameson at the helm of it. She's CEO or what, or president or whatever. I think it's CEO. But she is doing a great job with that organization so far. She knows what she's doing. She's involved in the scene. She's a smart person. So I don't expect there to be issues with that. Because with 100 Thieves, there was kind of the issue of the money was from like a basketball organization. The face of it and the name is Nadeshot, who's from the shooter scene. Whereas with, Nicole, Jameson, LaPointe. I think LaPointe's the cooler name. With Nicole LaPointe, like she's just esports, and she's business acumen as well. I believe she like went to school for business. So I'm trusting that she's going to be smart about these things. I think they were very smart the way they formed the team to begin with. They said, okay, let's get 3 pieces from Cloud9. They were able to get Zazel, Sven Skaren, the fucking, MVP at the time, and Kumo, who looked fine. And honestly, I think he improved over the course of the season as he realized he could play a little more of a, weak side role. And then they also picked up Bang from 100 Thieves. Smart fucking pickup. And the rumor, I guess not even rumors anymore, it's been confirmed. They were trying to get, like, Chovy to have, like, a giant, like, hey, world's level mid laner. They weren't able to get that. And in replace of that, though, they did get Jizuke, who he's had some ups and downs, but he's been very good. He's a good player. So I think overall they built a really good team, and they're only looking to keep that squad and get better over the course of the season. And I think they're doing the right stuff. They also pulled in a really good coach. So I think both FlyQuest and EG, like they made the right moves this split. And as long as those players are committed to grinding and getting better, I think they can maintain at least playoff caliber play into next split as well.
Nope, I wholeheartedly agree there. Evil Geniuses was they surprised me with how well they did. I mean, just because you have big names on the team doesn't necessarily turn into wins.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can look at TL to show us that,
we can.
But I mean,
they got 7 wins total.
I mean, honestly, EG was a little bit of a roller coaster on their way to here as well. They both looked good and bad along their way, which is really crazy. Considering the talent that they've got on the team, like Sven Skaren, MVP from last year, or was it just last split?
It was just last split with Sven Skaren on EG, yeah. When he was on Cloud9.
And then we've got a Worlds winner, Bang, Jizuke.
He's been to Worlds. He's looked great, yeah.
Zazel coming from Cloud9. Honestly, the only team mate on this team that I'm not a huge fan of is Deftly. I think that they could do better in that position. Oh wait, never mind. He's benched. I'm sorry. Who was? I don't know.
I don't think you can really improve, like, because I'd say the weak point of that team, quote unquote, would be the top lane. And honestly, I think Kumo found his place as a weak side jungler, and they can put their resources into Jizuke mostly. And actually, we saw a few games during playoffs where he, excuse me, where he did play, more aggressively in carry. Sneezing is not a thing of that. But yeah, like I think that team has found their mesh, and they just need to each improve individually and as a unit. So
yeah, nope. I think that as long as they continue to make the same like strides, I think that they're looking pretty good next year.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, I mean, with Team Liquid probably going to get their act together a little bit. I imagine that, like, I think that there are a lot of teams that are going to get their act together, and so it's going to make it a little bit tougher for some of these teams. But I think that they're in a good spot to maintain, whereas other people are trying to play catch up. So
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the team that did go ahead and win it all. Cloud9 took it, and in fact, actually, I have a little video to share just of their victory, because there's a fun thing that happened with the trophy directly following. So let me get that pulled up quick here.
Full it, just full hit. Full it. Full it. And guys, please.
Ah! Hit it.
Hit.
We cannot think.
Oh.
No, I think we can.
Eric cannot.
I don't think I die. It's fine.
So I know, Chase, you're watching on delay. You'll see it in a moment. But while they're celebrating, Jack brought in one of their previous trophies, right? So everybody could hoist the trophy up. There's good pictures of it. And they all, yeah, great. They hold it in the air and they brought it down, and you heard a thud because, as they joked, they're all so in sync that as they brought it down, they all let go at the same time and dropped that shit.
oh no.
So the blue crystal that's in the middle of the trophy broke out of it. They were able to like snap it back in place, but they actually broke the trophy that they took a picture all holding.
I thought that maybe that was a scripted thing where they're like, oh, we know Cloud9's going to win. We're just going to give him this Splits trophy. And then
no, that's one of their existing two.
Okay. I did not know that was the case, because I saw the trophy come out. I was like, the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And that's when I made like the social distancing joke in the chat, and you're like, well, they all live together, and I was like, well, I know that, but like, how the fuck they get a trophy already?
Oh yeah, well, and it's funny. Earlier in the day, G2 had done the same. They already had like a trophy there, and I assume it was theirs from last split. And honestly, I wonder if both in NA and EU, since the teams that were playing in the finals, they're like each, well, we have one of these, and I don't know if they gave updated trophies of like the old ones, because I guess they must have, because when Cloud9 won, I don't think the trophy looked like that. But I assume like Cloud9's like, well, we have one in stock, like obviously they have two or whatever, and G2 has them. So I wonder if Riot had sent one to FlyQuest, like in case they won, but then again, FlyQuest weren't all playing in the same building either, so who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, because you can see in that video, actually, there was one sitting on a desk nearby, and then they were all holding one as well. So that must be their two previous ones.
All right. So is there something else that happened with the video during one of the matches? Like I heard you guys talk about it like around game 2.
Yes.
And like I was paying attention for it, but I completely missed it. Do you by chance have that clip?
It was game 1. I can get that clip quickly. Give me a moment here. But what happened was, so it was great because the LEC didn't have it, EU, but NA did. We had player cams during the match, which personally I like that a lot. You know, seeing like little reactions they have to, you know, things going on in the match it's cool. It's nice. It's fun to see, like, sometimes, like, when somebody dies, if, like, they laugh at, like, shit, or, like, if somebody gets a kill and they're just like, ooh, I should not have gotten that, things. Like, the little reactions are fun. So what happened was in game 1, and they actually talked about it afterwards, 5 minutes before the end of the game, all of a sudden they had to turn the player cams off, and I have that queuing up to about the right spot. There it is. I found the perfect spot. There we go. Let me get that on screen for everyone. And what happened, as you will see, is the player cams at some point during the match got bugged and were no longer delayed 5 minutes. So you can see Niski take off his headset and starts walking away. And they all just start walking away. And and Cloud9 walked away quicker and were smiling, whereas FlyQuest were like still looking at their screens and had pretty straight faces, so it was pretty obvious. Okay, well, Cloud9 wins in 5 minutes.
Okay, so that's what happened.
Yeah. That's what happened, was they all just kind of like fucked off. And it's like, I'm pretty sure the game's still going. So there was lots of jokes on Reddit about Cloud9 so confident they let the minions play the back end of the game, things like that.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I did hear them talk about the cams became unsynced during that game, but I missed that because I thought it was game 2 for some reason.
Yeah, no, in game 2 is when they mentioned it. Like they were like, hey, we had an issue last game, you might have noticed it, but we got that bug figured out. It's not gonna happen again. They're back synced up. So yeah, it was an interesting little moment. But it was funny at the same time, because honestly it's weird too, because like they got up and then walked away. I'm like, oh, okay, well, Cloud9's gonna win this, and then the fight that immediately followed that, Cloud9 lost and like gave up Barrett. I'm like, oh shit, Cloud9 loses this. Why were they laughing? Were they just like, man, we fucking threw that shit, like what happened? And then also they won that giant fight at Drake with Vagar. I'm like, oh, okay, they did win. God, like as a fan, I got worried pretty hard for a moment.
Yeah, that one was okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, I totally was oblivious to that. Like, I was watching and listening to it while I was doing other things, so yeah, I saw the fight, but I wasn't paying attention to the cams.
Right? Yeah, no, I wasn't looking particularly close at first too, and then like all of a sudden I saw somebody smile, and I was like I remembered seeing somebody smile, and I wasn't looking at the cameras, I was looking at the screen, and then I looked back down, and there weren't cameras anymore. I'm like, the fuck? And then all of a sudden in chat, people were like, what happened to the cameras? I'm like, oh. I put it all together.
Yeah, nope, that was pretty amusing.
But yeah,
good stuff. Technical difficulties. I mean, this is their first time doing player cams on some of these matches, so
yeah, period. Because even EU didn't do it. So.
Yep. Nope. I'm glad that they did that.
Yeah, it made for a great moment.
Enjoyable.
Yeah, and for me especially, like the thing was, because I wanted to see the players' faces, especially like at the end of game, the final game of the series, whoever's winning, like you want to see that happen. And like, so the first clip I showed, like, and they did like the Voltron 5-man thing, and you could see them all standing up, and the coaches came in, and the coaches and Jack came in, and they had the trophy, and one of them had made confetti, and they're like throwing it on them, and you can.
Yeah, I saw that. That was cute.
Yeah, and like the reason I used the Cloud9 video there is obviously it had where they like broke the trophy as well, but also you can hear them like yelling in the excitement. Like, it's great that even though we couldn't see them, celebrate on stage, like the way they were yelling, "Let's go!" and like yelling as they all got up and hugged, you can tell they were legitimately excited for that moment, despite it being kind of a weird circumstance where it's like. When you win that at home, I'm sure it doesn't feel the same, but there was still a lot of excitement there. So I was really happy that we got to see that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying on Sunday, is that it's such a big bummer that the first split that they win, they don't have all of the fanfare, they don't have all of the crowd being insane, like they don't have like the trophy being handed to them on stage. Like, it's just like, it's such a bummer. Like, yeah, they deserve that more than Team Liquid ever does. So the fact that they were the fact that they were denied that this split, it's a little heartbreaking.
I wouldn't have quite gone that far with dissing Team Liquid in there.
Sorry, I think that's 2 Team Liquid jabs in this stream for me so far.
Possibly. I'm sure it's not the last. But, I mean, so obviously Cloud9 split. You couldn't have asked for more. It is literally the highest win percentage split the LCS has ever seen. Oddly enough, number 2 and 3 are the other 2 Cloud9 teams who won championships.
Yeah, I mean they went all the way through. They gave up what, 2 games?
Two games, but one in playoffs and one in regular season. That was it. 26-2.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like that's quite the
disgusting.
run. Sven almost went deathless in finals. He did.
He went
I
deathless
think
for like
he-
the first, what, 10 games, 11 games of the season?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But yeah, no, they had like the perfect comp put together for this year. Like, is just absurd with how like things just like lined up perfectly.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, there were things that fell apart elsewhere in the LCS, and that can't be ignored. TSM didn't play the way a lot of people felt they should have. Team Liquid obviously fell apart entirely. CLG, the same thing can be said there. But Cloud9, I mean, they literally, outside of having a rookie who could win Rookie of the Split, and I don't think there were enough rookies to even give out that award this year, or this split, they won every award. They were all 5 positions were first team at NALCS, or sorry, just LCS now. They had Coach of the Split with Reaper again, his 3rd one. I believe his 3rd, maybe 4th, Jesus. And they had Blabber win MVP. And not only did Blabber win MVP, Niski was 2nd in voting, Sven was 3rd in voting. Like, they held the top 3 positions in voting. And then they 3-0 the finals. Like,
Is that the first time that we've ever seen the number 1 all-star team is just one team? Because like I vaguely recall seeing like most of Team Liquid there last year with
it was
a
like
Cloud9
TL
member peppered in.
So I think 2 years ago we had TL plus Bjergsen.
Okay.
Because I don't believe Power Vival got it, and then last split, it was like TL plus Sven Skaren kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So we've seen that a handful of times where it's been, and I think TSM's done the same, where I think it was like 4 of their players plus 1 from another team, or 3 or whatever. We've seen that a lot. I'm almost certain this is the first time we've seen all 5 just being the same team, and I mean it's because it was undeniable. When you go role by role, the only one that you even kind of question would maybe have been Licorice, but really if you're breaking it down on a game-by-game basis, he played weak side phenomenally. Like, yeah, he wasn't hard carrying games, and had someday hard carried a few more than he did. Uh-oh. Sorry, cameras are locking up. Are you still there, Chase? Oh, I'm having fun here. Well, we're going to get this fixed real quick. Oh my goodness. So sorry to everybody watching the stream right now. Gonna get this fixed.
Well,
Oh, can you hear me, Chase? There you go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right.
I
Everything
could
locked
never
up for a
not hear
moment.
you.
Oh, okay. Everything locked up for a moment. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, no, Discord was totally fine. The stream did totally lock though.
Yeah, well, it is because my Discord locked. So.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's all fixed. What was I saying? Like, you go by the rules, and like had someday hard carried a handful more games, I think. Woo. And Discord locked again. Oh. What is going? Okay, it's back. Discord's losing its damn mind. Let me hold on.
Yeah, you dropped there for a second.
That was weird. Had someday hard carried some more games, I think you could have made an argument there. But I think Licorice had 1-2 bad games all split. And even when he carried a few, like got real fed on like Sad or Aatrox or something. But even the games where like he was being dove constantly, we saw a good handful of examples of this is how you absorb 5-man pressure over and over and over. And he, it's hard to remember to reward that because you're just like looking for the flashy play and like, oh yeah, you won your team the game. But he won the team the game by like not giving up gold so many times. And, elsewhere, like Blabber, it was just obvious he was the best jungler by a fucking mile. Niski, you could talk about Power Vival, but Power Vival also had kind of a down middle of the season. Jizuke had a down early split. And Niski just, I think he's going to push other mid laners in NA to play differently as well, because the way he and Blabber played together stomped everyone. And then, of course, Sven and Vulcan in the bot lane it wasn't even close. Like, Sven didn't even die for half the season. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, no sane person could say that Cloud9 didn't deserve what they got here. If you disagree with me, unfortunately, you're just wrong.
It's objectively true, which is hard to come by when it comes to sports.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, considering that every other team, they had such a roller coaster of a split, like in Cloud9 was like the only one that just like consistently played super well. Yeah, it's hard to take anything away from Cloud9 and how they performed here. I don't hate Cloud9 at all. Like I love them a lot. It's just they're not my team.
Right. And so I gotta say, I mean, the way you mentioned it, it sucks that they weren't able to get this win on the stage. You know, none of these players had ever won a NA championship before. Sven being the first player to get a win in NA and EU, so that's really cool. You know, there's so much going on here, and after such a dominant split, you really wish they could have been able to experience that the way every other team does. And in a way, I don't think this team lacks motivation to begin with. I mean, obviously not, because they kept improving despite the fact that they were already so far ahead of everyone else. But I expect it is true, and I hope it's true, that not getting that moment on the stage, if heading into next split, and, you know, as we're going through the summer, it's looking like that's going to be the case for summer, that we're going to get a normal finals in an arena in front of a crowd, all of that, that's just that extra bit of motivation for them, that they're like, no, we are not going to miss out on that the way we did last split. We are going to win again, and we're going to get that moment that we didn't get. And I think the team can use that.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. I fully expect to see them back into at least the LCS studio for the next split. Maybe not week 1, 2, but they'll definitely be in there week 3, like maybe even week 1. I'm hoping things kind of go back to at least to where the players can be back in there. Like the LCS like space isn't super big. It only has seating for like maybe 100, maybe less.
It's probably 150, 200 fans can be in there.
Okay, I mean,
having worked in theater, I'm pretty familiar with the size. 150 is a lot smaller seating than you'd think it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so like we'll say 150. Like, I mean, that's still a pretty not a huge space considering like when you do MSI and Rift Rivals.
Yeah, it's not like
the finals,
a stadium.
Like these huge. Yeah. So I'm hoping that we'll at least see the players in there, maybe with possibly a limited fan capacity. But no, I expect to see them at least back in the studio for next split. I hope that's the case, and
I'd really love for us to be able to go back week 9 next split. That'd be great.
Yeah, we
weren't able to manage it last season, and it was so fun 2 years ago that or a year and a half, whatever. I really would love to get back. I think that'd be a great time.
It's funny how we're talking about going out to LA and Kev happens to pop into the
chat. No, I saw him pop in right as we were talking about the studio. Yeah, I mean, and I know Kev's interested in coming down from Oregon, joining us, so hopefully that all works out. Heck, maybe they'll just do finals in Denver and we don't have to go anywhere. That'd be great.
I'd be totally cool with that.
I'd be super down.
Yeah, no, we need to try to make that happen again this year. Like, I think financially I should be able to make that happen.
Yeah. But, I mean, obviously, Cloud9, great split. I don't think we expect anything less from them in next split. So, I had kind of posed it out beforehand to you. Is there a team that's, not these three that you specifically wanted to talk about how their split went? And maybe what you're looking for them in the off season or the mid split, like, off time heading into next split. And if there's one of those teams, is it not one of the teams two teams we're definitely already going to talk about? I think you know which two those are.
Nope, I'm not going to bring up TSM or TL.
All right.
I'm hoping Dignitas can get their act together. I really want them to succeed. Like, I think that they have all of the tools to do it. I hope Huni can get his act together. Yeah. I hope that they can get rid of Afromu, even though I don't see that happening.
So do you expect they'll keep Huni then?
I think they'll probably keep him through the end of next split.
So through this season, because it is a 2-year contract too that they currently have him on, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that they're going to keep him through the end of this year, and then they're going to try to get rid of him. Just because his contract is so expensive. He's playing so poorly. I don't know. Maybe he'll come into this next split and he'll surprise us all, and they'll be like, "Okay, yes, we will pay you $1 million to do well."
If he wants anybody to pay him anywhere near what he makes now, he needs to show the hell up in summer. He's got one shot left. Otherwise, no one's gonna pay him $1 million. No one's gonna pay him even close to $1 million a year, or like anyone sane won't.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that anyone would even pay him like $500K right now. Like,
I wish I knew what like the average like general salaries were, but yeah, he's not a superstar caliber player anymore.
Yeah, I would like to see Froggen get benched at least temporarily, so we can see if I want to see if DeMonte can shine with the rest of this team. I think that it's really silly of Dignitas to have somebody like Tanner sitting right behind Froggen and watching Froggen fail.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's at least worth experimenting with to see if DeMonte can play on the main stage right now. I think if they were to want to trade Froggen, he's an import slot right now, right?
Yes, I believe he is still an import.
And DeMonte is not.
DeMonte's he's domestic.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, not only would it free up an import slot, I don't know. Just Froggen being front and center right now just doesn't make sense to me. Nothing against Froggen personally, but I think unless DeMonte really, really shit himself in the offseason before this split started, it was just an absurd choice in my mind.
Yeah. And it's weird because it's not even that they chose to start Froggen over DeMonte. That DeMonte didn't get an offer from anywhere, and so he ended up taking an offer from Dignitas to be Academy at the end of it all. He just wasn't on a team. Him and Pobelter the same way, and he was coaching for TL, and then CLG picked him up and he did fine. It's just there's a handful of players that you're like, how were they not on a team to start?
Yeah.
And yet we see $2 million contract for Hooney, and I just think there was a lot of mistakes made. Unfortunately, I think Dignitas probably made most of them, or more than anyone else, because you mentioned Froggen and Hooney both, and in their own right, I can see each decision, but I think as a whole it's a bad decision. And then of course they also brought in Greg and Acadian. It's just that duo was on TSM. I don't know if both of them were oh yeah, we're total bros, it was no big deal, but I have a hard time believing that. So even if you think one of them is a really good jungler, or both of them are really good junglers, from a management standpoint, bringing them both in sounds like a terrible fucking idea. And that's exactly what they did. And not only did they bring them both in, they started them in the same order that TSM did. Whereas Greg is our starter at the beginning of the season with Acadian behind him. It's dude, if you're going to do it the other way. Start Acadian, because Acadian doesn't have this shell shock relapse of Greg sitting behind him and taking his spot. He has I beat Greg out, that's fine. Okay, cool, start Acadian. No, they start Greg, and then Greg didn't even do terrible, and they're like, oh, we swapped him out. And honestly, I think they were still in playoff contention at the time they took Greg out. They did better in their front half, I think. Yeah, they won those first 3 games, but then they didn't win again till week 4. They won 1 in week 5. Then they didn't win again until week 8, and they won 2 in week 9, and one of their tiebreakers, but they didn't make it all the way through. It was just and I don't remember exactly where that switch over happened, but it just seems like terrible life choices, made by management. They're like, hey, that dumpster fire that happened on TSM in the jungle last year? Let's do that, except not also add Spica in playoffs. I just don't understand little things like that. The team I had my shout out for that I wanted to look into what they would do in the off split. Actually, it was the team that beat Dignitas to get that final playoff spot, Golden Guardians. Because I think they overall, with this team they had, with the players they had, playoffs is a success. The problem is that that's the bar of success right now. And I don't think that changes currently going into next split. I don't think you look at a team that has Hanser and a team that has FBI and Huhi in the bottom, or possibly Keith. I don't think you look at that team and you go, yep, this team's going to make playoffs for sure. No, they're going to succeed by making playoffs. As a organization, you should think, okay, we're going to make playoffs and we want to win a round. And I don't think this team is currently comprised does that. I think Closer is very good. I think Golden Glue's good enough that you can keep him and work on your other bigger issues. I still maintain that Hanser's glory days on a dominant TSM are the best he was and the best he's ever going to be. It was a dominant team. He was able to play aggressive picks and, crush people in lane because the rest of his team was good. And he needs to accept that he should be able to play tank top laners. Because he did even on that 2016 TSM team. He played Maokai and stuff sometimes, and some Scion and stuff. The fact that it seems like, I don't know if it's just a him thing, but it seems like he refuses to be like, oh, I'm going to play Ornn. And I'm going to play, I'm going to play tank top. He should just be playing tank top. That's it. Because there's too many times where I see him try to do shit and he fails. He
should wear a tank top while he's doing it.
He should. Just like Cloud9's CSGO team used to do. That's actually true. Yeah, they had tank tops. One of them's name was Freakazoid, and he was fucking jacked as shit. Go look it up. Yeah, they're broy as fuck, man. It looked like they rolled off the beach and they were just computers. They're like, oh, let's shoot people.
I can dig it. I like it.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't think Hanser's going to evolve, though, unfortunately. And down the bot lane, FBI's
already discussed this. He needs to be traded. He needs to be traded, and then he can evolve.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Hanser has to be traded to evolve. You're correct still. And then, FBI in the bot lane. The dude has to be better than he is to be worth not only an import slot, but be worth continuing starting at AD carry in NA. Because right now, AD carry in NA seems pretty fucking weak. I'm sorry, Stixay is not performing. DL did not, Doublelift did not perform. Kave was okay, quietly. Sven was obviously fantastic. Johnson, I think, was pretty damn good. Bang looked better as the season went on. Wild Turtle was okay. I say Wild Turtle was okay. He was on the number 2 team in the fucking league. Who were you competing against as an AD carry in NA? Almost nobody. And you are in the bottom end of that. I don't know why FBI deserves a starting spot, let alone an import slot. And I don't think necessarily you have to value an import slot above domestic. But when it comes down to it, that import slot should be used as a place to bring in talent for cheap. And they're definitely not doing that with it. They tried it with FBI, and I think it's done. I think that has failed. I think you still have Cody-san. Doublelift's going to be better next split, I'm sure, but you have Cody-san, Doublelift. They should try, and I'm sure they did already, but they should try again and see if they can get Sneaky or somebody.
Yeah,
there's options. Grab a solo queue player
coming back, unless Sneaky's career as a streamer is not doing so hot.
I have no idea.
I don't. Yeah, I haven't really kept up with him, unfortunately. Shit, what was I gonna say?
I don't know. Just other AD. I would just grab somebody off solo queue ladder, man. It worked with Johnson.
I think the problem is that the AD carry spot is such in a weird position right now where you can play marksman, you can play a mid laner, yeah, you can play mages.
There you go, you're onto it. Why don't they bring in somebody who plays mages and just be the team that plays mages bot every fucking game?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like trying to make a traditional AD carry try to play a mage when, like, that's not their play style. Like, because you have to do everything different and still kill people. And, like, it's just a very different play style versus, like, AD carry versus
They
mages.
should
Because
get
mages are super
Demonte.
bursty. I wouldn't be upset with
Play
seeing...
Demonte bot lane. Just Cassiopeia and shit all day.
Yeah, I can get behind some of that stuff, like seeing like the Syndra, the Swain, things like that. Like the fact that like just this meta is still kind of it's ever evolving and it's kind of changing in weird ways that some of these players never had to account for. And so like just because you can be the best AD carry in the world doesn't mean you can be the best mid laner in the world. And then if you have to play a hybrid AD carry mid lane mage role in the bot lane and do them both at like the top level, like that's the biggest problem is that everyone here, they only know how to play one way and they're either unwilling to change or they're not very good when they in what's the word? In practice? Yeah. They in theory, like it works, but in practice, yeah.
Sorry, that was an actual sports reference I made. My bad. Allen Iverson. Practice. You talking about practice?
And I know who Allen Iverson is.
There you go. Nailed it. But
he's short.
I would love to see... I think if Golden Guardians just picked up a fucking mid laner as their bot laner, they would probably make playoffs again just on that. Because they would win 4 games minimum purely because the opposing team doesn't know how to deal with a good mage bot. 4 wins purely on that. Win another, 4 games because you're actually good. Or you like have good drafts and stuff. It's 8 wins. 8 wins is playoffs, or like that got them 2 playoffs this split. Now I don't think most splits you're a little bit outside of it, but like win a few more, like boom, like you're playoff adjacent just off that. I think so. I think that'd be really fun. I just don't expect any team to do that. I think it would be ballsy and amazing. Like if you're a lower team right now, not Dignitas unfortunately, because like they've got a really good bot laner, they've got a marksman player. But I think if you're Golden Guardians or CLG, you should totally consider getting a mage player and just be like, we are bringing you in as our bot laner. You're just going to play mages all day. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like learn a few marksmen. Like you already know Lucian Varus because those have been played in the mid lane. Cool. Learn 1 or 2 more. We're going to make them have to ban the shit out of mages.
Yeah, it's just either they're going to need to try to take it more seriously or they're going to need to find people that can adapt on the fly because unfortunately, like, I mean, we saw Double Lift play so terribly and he didn't even have to play a mage. He just had to play a Senna. And
we saw him fail on a mage too. We all remember Vladimir.
Oh, yeah. So like,
we try to forget.
I'm not trying to forget. I enjoy watching Double Lift fail.
Aww.
I mean, when you are the best and you are as cocky as he is, like watching like him get knocked down, not just a notch, but like 8 notches, like that's fun for me.
You're correct. Exactly 8 notches, from 1 to 9.
Boom, nailed it.
And actually, joke. Fun fact: I didn't bust it out at the end of this, anywhere from the end of the split to now. But so I mentioned earlier, TL they had 7 wins on the season, right? On the split, I should say. 7 wins is the difference between Cloud9 and the next team in the league. There's a whole ridiculous team liquid between Cloud9 and the rest of the league, which is either an example of how good Cloud9 is or how shit TL is, and I think it's both.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, this whole season has been a big adjustment with the way the Drakes work, with 2 Shellys per game, um,
Yeah.
with just everything, like the jungle changes. Like it's just this is one of the most dramatically changed maps between seasons. So, I
Well,
mean,
that
it's
you
not.
I mean, for your time, there's been some big fucking. Well, I guess you're right. Map changes have been the biggest now compared to ever. Because even the plant, like adding the plants, wasn't as big. But the game has changed a lot more in meta in other off seasons. I think because there's been massive like item reworks and shit before.
Yeah. I mean, just like I mean, the game has fundamentally changed. Honestly, it's changed to a point to where I don't enjoy it as much anymore, and that's fine. Like I still enjoy watching it, but
You
I
just need
can't
to
play
pick
that.
up a
There's
different role, man.
yeah. Well, I don't have time to fit everything in that I try to do,
It's because you
and
keep
League
playing
is
Rocket
unfortunate.
League.
But I like Rocket
It's
League.
the worst league.
I
There's
well,
2 leagues, and Rocket is worse.
we're gonna get Rocket Den going one day. I will. I will get
Never
that
gonna
going.
happen. All right, so the one thing we haven't talked about yet, and we absolutely should before we end everything, the big news. So Travis Gafford broke a week ago, and we mentioned it, that TL was possibly shopping Double Lift's contract out. The breaking news as of today, Jacob Wolf of ESPN reporting that TSM and Double Lift are, well, TSM and TL, I should say, TSM and Liquid are working out final contract stuff of securing a trade. So we may very well see Double Lift going to TSM, back to TSM, where he came to TL from, next split. There's a lot to unpack there, but what's your initial impression of that, Chase?
Honestly, I think it's a poor choice. Like unless
By who?
unless double, I think if Double Lift is trying to leave a team like Team Liquid, like I think even though they did have a rocky split, like I would be surprised to see them fail 2 splits in a row. Like everyone on that team has the drive to win. Apparently, just not this split. But going forward, I would be utterly surprised to not see them back up into like a 2-3 spot, and then slowly take back the #1 spot. Like just with the competitors that they have, the coaching staff that they have, and just everyone making like big brain decisions over there, they've done everything right for so long. And so to see them try to get rid of Double Lift, like I don't know if Double Lift wants to leave. I don't know if Team Liquid wants to get rid of Double Lift. Like I know he had one of the poorest splits of anyone ever.
That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but one of his poorest splits ever, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like to watch him fail for a split and then be like, okay, guys, we're just gonna wash our hands of him. And like, I mean, you've mentioned it multiple times. Every team that has traded Double Lift has regretted it. I mean, granted, that was years ago, and Double Lift is now getting up there in age in terms of like how old a typical league player is.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like not the best choice. Like I would unless he's showing like a lot of like poor attitude off the rift and like being like toxic in the house, or if he's being difficult to work with. Like there's a lot of things that I can't see and I have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But purely as a player and his skill level, if he wants to bounce back, I think he will.
Yeah, and oh man, there's so many things there. You hit on a lot of things.
Sorry, you said there was a lot to unpack.
No, and you did, absolutely. I'm gonna try and like backpedal it, I guess. Like I'm gonna try and go from the thing most recent backwards, I guess. And you said, like unless he's being toxic to the house and whatnot. I guess we don't know in the house, like obviously. But during the season or during the split, he said, "Oh, spring split doesn't matter." He's done these interviews where he's like said stuff about coaching staff and how he wanted to be the shot caller and they weren't allowing him to call the shots. And there's been things he has said and done, even post that like benching episode, that as an owner or a manager or a coach or a teammate, you're probably not happy with. You know, where he's kind of shitting on, if he's not shitting on you specifically, he's shitting on TL as a whole, or at least some part of it. And if you believe in that organization, like if you're a part of it and you're like, no, we're good here, you're kind of, I'd be kind of pissed about that, right?
Yeah.
And so I can see how people throughout the organization would be a little tired of that. At the same time, I think TL, and I've mentioned this before, totally brought that upon themselves by not following through on the benching of him they did. They set him out for a game. They said, okay, he's out this weekend because he was sick the previous weekend. Johnson went 2-0. Or not Johnson, Tactical went 2-0. We're playing Tactical again this week because Doublelift has motivation issues. They lose the game on Saturday and immediately put him back in. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me he fixed his motivation issues between Thursday and Sunday. You just freaked out because you lost a game and you're already so far the fuck down. So what they taught Doublelift in that moment is nothing you do matters. We do not care what you do. You can do whatever you want and you have that spot. Because we're afraid we're going to lose without you. And I don't know if, you know, that was something that he has subconsciously taken to heart, and that's what kind of caused some of these interviews and shit that he's done since. Or that's just the way he always was, or it had, you know, nothing to do with it. I don't know. But as an organization, they fucked up. Because really, if it didn't affect Doublelift, I think it affected every other player on that team. Unless all 4 of them were saying, hey, we want to have Peter in the lineup. You just told everyone else that it doesn't matter how much he pisses and moans. It doesn't matter how much he actually cares. It doesn't matter how much he tries. We're going to put him in regardless of what's good for the team as a whole because we think he can get us a win right now. And so I think the downshot of that, or the upshot, whatever, the result of that then takes us the next step back in what you said, where is it good for the team or not? And yeah, when CLG used to have Doublelift and they got rid of him, and then he won a bunch on TSM. And then TSM got rid of him, and he won a bunch on TL. Now, granted, both those teams, CLG and TSM, they actually won the very next split after they got rid of Doublelift. Oddly enough. But that is also because, you know, it takes time to, like, get into a new team pretty well. I think, though, TL as an organization now, it's like, well, do they suffer by losing him? Like, from a skill perspective, yeah, I can't say I think Tactical's as good as Doublelift. But from a I don't know, trust of the player standpoint, it feels like it's almost the only way forward. Because by keeping Doublelift, or not by just keeping him, but like allowing him to get away with the benching shit the way they did, unless they really put him to the fucking grindstone this next split and in the off split, they were just showing that, okay, yeah, he runs this team. Sorry. You know, you guys all are just along for the ride. And I have a feeling there's some, what's the word? Resentment about that. Especially, I think, coming from Jensen. Because Jensen was busting his ass early in the split. And not that nobody else on the team was, but Jensen was working his ass off. While Doublelift was very much doing the opposite. And I think Jensen is pissed because he came to TL to bust ass and get a championship, which he finally did. And now, you know, the guy he came in and was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get you a championship, is the one pissing around. Like, I think there's a lot of issue there. But then,
I guess
go
it's
ahead.
Possible that there could be a lot of contention between some of his teammates, and maybe everyone else went to management as a team and is like, hey, like Doublelift is just not who we need right now.
Yeah,
if I had something like that happened,
if I had a teammate who was, you know, incredibly good, and we're on an all-star team, and they like pissed around for a full fucking split or most of the split, I'd be pissed about it. I'd be really pissed about it. It's like, hey, we should be winning. Not only are we not winning the whole split, we're not even going to make fucking playoffs because of this guy. Like, it's not, oh, we're in the middle of the pack. They were 9th. Like, it's ridiculous, the difference between effort and not. From one person, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like Doublelift got tilted early on. Like, I mean, we had the whole, like, Mike Young, Schernfire thing, and then Broxa coming in, and then just, like, they would already lost so many games that it just seems like he was just like, fuck it, I'm done. Like, I just can't this split. And it seemed like even though, like you were saying, like, the rest of the team, like, Jensen was busting his ass, like, Doublelift is like, it doesn't matter, guys, it just doesn't matter. Like, we'll get him next split. And it's just like, you look really silly for 18 weeks trying to make this happen. Or I'm sorry, 9 weeks. You look really silly for 9 weeks. And all of these people have lost tons of credibility, probably solely based on Doublelift.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, based on all of that, that's why I don't blame Liquid for trying to move him. I don't blame them at all for that. Well, I guess I should say I don't blame them in this moment for wanting to get rid of him. I blame them for getting to this point. Because once again, if they follow through on the fucking benching, maybe things go differently. I mean, they won against TSM and 100 Thieves in week 6 with Tactical. They lost to CLG, granted, CLG was the one team below them, and they immediately panicked. Obviously I'm not in charge of a team, I'm not somebody who you should be trusting necessarily with all this stuff. I feel like I call out a lot of shit pretty well, and the minute they put in Doublelift in the back end of week 7, I was like, well, that's stupid. They just fucked themselves. And guess what? They lost that game, they lost the next game. They won 1 game out of the 5 that Doublelift played to end the split. And they ended up, 1 game out of playoffs? Yeah, 1 game. 1 game out of playoffs. They had to beat Cloud9 or FlyQuest. Granted, tall tail there, or, hard ask. EG, also, we realize hard ask. They did beat Golden Guardians. Cool. And they could not beat Immortals, which at that time, honestly, Immortals, the only 2 wins they got in the last 3 weeks were TL and TSM. And one team's bad and the other one's inconsistent. Like, a lot of that organization was invested in Doublelift, I think, too far. Now, to the other side of this whole rumor that that he's possibly going to TSM, I've been complaining about TSM's management and coaching, etc., for a long time, and it does not end with this pickup. I think the pickup is a way to say, yes, he'll get us wins right now, but it has nothing to do with looking to the future. It does not, even if they pick him up and they win the split, it does not fix the issues that this organization has. In fact, the winning is oddly a symptom of the issues they have. Because they just picked up Kabe. And if they're bringing Doublelift, that doesn't mean they're playing Kabe. I highly doubt they would pick up Doublelift and say, oh, you guys are competing for the position. Which is at least somewhat respectable. No, I'm sure they are trading Kabe to a different team. It's not going to be to TL, I don't think, because I think TL doesn't actually have the import room. And I think they would want to start Tactical anyway. I don't know what other team would even make sense to do like a 3-team trade and get Tactical over to that TL could get something out of. He probably just gets like cut loose to go back to EU. And it's just another example of the fact that TSM as a organization sucks at management. They don't know how to make a team. They fail at drafting constantly. Like, everything above the players at TSM is shit. Until you get above the actual, like, directly involved with the players. Honestly, I think Lena, who is the current president of TSM, I think she's done a really good job. I think she's brought in, convinced them to bring in some good players. But then you go above her one more step, and you got Reggie, the owner of TSM, and he fucks shit up all the time. He gets involved in coaching, he gets involved in player shit, and he needs to sit the fuck down and shut up. And they need to get in a real coach and let him do his shit. They had Zix last season, and they freaked the fuck out and got rid of him. And guess what? Zix is doing well again this split. Man, maybe if you'd all just fucking let him do his shit and get out of his hair, he could have made your team good again. But instead they're like, you know what? Let's bring in Double Lift, and because he is mechanically assumed to be and I would agree, an upgrade over Kabe. It's like, yeah, that's not the issue with your team.
I full-heartedly think that if Double Lift leaves Team Liquid, he retires in the next year. By the end of the summer split next year, unless he just pops off, which I don't foresee happening, because he's either going to turn into like a Hooney or a Hanser or somebody that's just been around for too long that probably shouldn't still be around. And like, I think that I don't know that that's how he wants to go out. Like, I mean, unless he's just happy making money, like on his way out, looking like a fool. Like, I don't know. I'd ride the bench making $1 million a year if it was something that could happen. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, do you have your pride, or do you want the money and then just kind of slowly piss everything that you've built up over the last decade down your leg?
I think the competitive drive of Double Lift and a little bit the ego of Double Lift is enough that he will never see himself as... I think it's actually a lot of what the same going along with Hooney. I think Hooney knows he can be extremely good and has been the best, much like Double Lift. And I don't think like Double Lift's anywhere near washed up at this point. Like, I mean, just last split, he was just dumpstering kids, right? I mean, granted, it was, also with Core JJ, but he should have been doing that this split too. He had Core JJ. I think he got fully complacent. He got bored. He was worried about other things in his life. I think if he finds other things in his life that he cares about more and wants to focus on, then he can retire and be happy. If that's not the case, he is going to be, Michael Jordan, and I can name a million fucking pros in other sports, but you'll know none of the other ones. But where
is he gonna go to baseball and then golf and then
no, golf was just a leisure activity. But no, where he just keeps playing beyond his, like, it was Jordan on the Wizards, and granted, he was still crushing fools on the Wizards, but he wasn't Kobe Bryant at that time. Like, MJ in his prime, better than Kobe Bryant, but you're past your prime. You're not that anymore. And I think Double Lift could end up like that. I don't think he is now. I think that's where Hooney is, and I think Hooney's past that, where it's like, oh, you're okay. You're okay, but you're super inconsistent. Sometimes you pop off, sometimes you're terrible, and you feed. Double Lift could end up there. I hope for his sake that it doesn't end up there, and I don't think he's there now. I do agree with you, actually, about not the end of this split, but the end of not the end of this year, but the end of next year, the end of the 2021 season. That should probably about be the end of the road for him. Because while he's been extremely good, I think he's going to have a hard time connecting with his teammates anymore at that point, because he is so much older than them. And also because of the ego he has. Because in 2021, unless he fucking pops off here in summer or sometime in 2021, it's not deserved anymore. Cool. You dominated NA for years. That is awesome. That is a achievement. And you have never once made it out of groups at Worlds. Great job on being one of the best domestic NA players ever. But that doesn't matter to a team who's looking to be successful in a holistic standpoint. And teams that are great, teams that are going to continue to win domestically, are looking to be better than that. TL, Cloud9, TSM have all looked to be better than that. And one of those teams have had it bite them in the ass. And it looks like TL sorta did this split. I don't think it's related to that. I think TSM, like when they swapped out their bot lane entirely, when they got rid of Double Lift and Biofrost, that was basically what happened. Is they're like, oh, we need to win internationally, and they bit them in the ass. I don't think that's what's going on with TL. It hasn't happened with Cloud9 yet, but it could. I think Double Lift is in a weird spot. I don't see him becoming Huni, but he could. He's still several spots away from being Avramu, where his prime is past. His relevance is being a veteran who can maybe teach somebody young. Honestly, I think Dignitas improves by bringing in a good support, because I think Johnson's learned a good chunk from Aframu and should move the fuck on now. I mean, maybe one more split of learning from Aframu, but if he's still on that team next year, I don't know what the hell's going on. And I hope that doesn't become what Double Lift is, where it's like, oh, he's teaching a support or something. And honestly, as a carry laner, you're usually not teaching a different lane. You can teach the person who's going to replace you. And that's about it. Or they replace you and keep you as an academy and like, hey, if you want to impart knowledge, we'll keep paying you. And maybe that's where Double Lift's heading to. And I think maybe by the end of 2021, that's where he is. I think you called that really well.
Yeah, like I would say I'm not one to make like dramatic or drastic like predictions, but I think that that's a pretty conservative way to go about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of it before you said it, but you say it and it feels like it rings true. But I think that's about all we got here. Yeah, feel the same?
I think so, yeah.
All right, well, that'll do it for Season 4, Episode 14. Season 4, Episode 14 of League of Loggers. We've got our mid-season break coming up here. No MSI during that break. It has been currently moved to the old Rift Rivals spot. It might be canceled altogether. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that's not the case, because we'd love to see how this Cloud9 can do internationally. But until we see you guys again, cheers.
Cheers. I have to show off my cool cans before you kill it. I got
Falcon Punch.
Got Falcon Punch beer by Finkel and Garth. And this other beer is Jungle Rush.
Nice.
They were
super collab bros.
Yeah, that's the one's made by Westfax, one's made by Finkel and Garth.
Very nice.
Pretty solid, and the cans are dope AF.
Very nice. All right. Well, hopefully when you guys see us next, though, we'll be back at that table. We'll be back in person, doing it old school, the way it's so much more fun and the way it's meant to be. But yeah, everybody enjoy your quarantine. See you next time.
Yep. Love you all.